Welcome back. I warned you, didn't I? About the reading? I warned you. I'm sorry, but here it is. All right. Before we move on to today's reading, I want to go over a few things from last class that seem to leave people confused. I have the poll questions here. So a couple of you are asking about example number 4, right? And if you remember, example 4 involved the mother and the ring, right? One of the weird things about acceptance is it's presumed accepted. Usually, if there's a valid delivery, we presume the person accepted the gift unless there was an affirmative denial saying, I don't want it, right? So when you're thinking of these questions, as long as you see delivery, and it's a good delivery, there's acceptance. So don't worry too much about the acceptance, but it's often not stated. It's like, oh, thank you. Yes, I accept it. You don't need to actually say that. It's almost implied, if you will. All right, everyone get the acceptance part? So there's another question I want to do it. Someone asked about irrevocable trust. We'll get there later. Trust me. Yes, this question. Are there other types of present interest? Oh my goodness, there are. There are many. That'll be the next few weeks. Someone asked about conditional gifts. This was the example we had with an engagement ring, right? Where you're giving a ring to a person on the condition that you get married. And if the condition doesn't happen, you can get the ring back. But there's an exception. If you are at fault for breaking up the marriage, adios. Sorry, you don't get the ring back. Sorry, that's too bad. All right, you like the class? Great class. You're not going to say that about today. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, I think that's it. The attendance is running, so everyone please sign in. All right, so this is starting. Any other questions before we get started? Okay. Today's class, really the next 7 or 8 classes or so, are going to be a little bit weird. This will take us right through the midterm. We're starting the topic of estates. And when you hear the word estate, you think, oh yeah, grandma died, what's in her estate, right? That's how the word's commonly used. But the word estate really refers to an interest in property. It doesn't mean anything about death. It can, but it doesn't have to. And the system, yes, Brianne. The attendance isn't running. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. My mistake. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, it should be on now. Yeah? Good? Okay, I'm sorry about that. All right. The system of property we have now was not built overnight. It developed over the course of not decades, not even centuries, but a millennia, right? Over the course of basically 1,000 years, I'm not exaggerating very much, our system of property developed. There's some readings from Holmes and Cardozo in your book saying that our system doesn't really make a lot of sense unless you get the history. So I'll need to give you a little bit of history of how our system of laws came about. You may not like history, I don't really care, but this will just help you get a sense. I do care, but not entirely of your stuff, right? But this history will help you get a sense of where we are today. So if you go down the notes, okay, there's Holmes, there's Cardozo. I think did you do Erie recently? Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. Our system, right, of laws more or less traces to England and France when they sort of merged, right? You hear the phrase Anglo-Saxon, right? Anglo is English, the Saxons were the French, and they merged at some point. Okay, there you go. There's your history for the day. And there were a number of laws that were developed over time based on a system of government called feudalism. Feudalism. All right? You maybe have seen movies about knights in shining armor, right? Maybe you've read some Shakespeare in high school. But feudalism was a system of government that was based on sort of this hierarchy. And this little cutesy cartoon, I think, illustrates it better than your book does, I think, at least. Right? Society was built on levels, quite literally. And where you were on that pyramid decided how you existed, right? We can start at the top. right, there was the king. The king was the sovereign monarch. And it was understood that basically all property ultimately belonged to the king in one way or another. But the king would let certain people manage his land. These were the nobles, right, the lords. The king would give land to the nobles, and in exchange, the nobles would give stuff to the king. For example, crops, money, knights who fought in wars. Okay. But then the lords, the nobles, would chop up their interests even more. And they would give portions of land to knights and vassals. These are different titles for basically lords of different kinds. Right? You always think of a knight fighting a war. That's nice, but what happened when there wasn't a war? The knight would go back and have his land, right? The knights would fight not just for money or gold, but to get a chunk of land they could use to raise their family on and to actually develop a livelihood on. But who's actually, tilling the soil and planting the seeds and taking care of the livestock, right? At the bottom of the pyramid, you had the peasants, also called the serfs, S-E-R-F, the serfs, or villains. You might see that in your book as well. These are people at the bottom of the pyramid. And their existence was literally just to farm the land. They didn't own the land they worked on. They could be kicked off at any point for any reason. And they had quotas. They were expected to produce a certain number of crops, a certain number of whatever on a given basis, right? Everyone with me? So this pyramid sort of went down and also went back up. The king would give land to the lords, nobles. The nobles would then give some land to the knights. And the knights would protect the people who were living there. But it went up. The peasants would give food and services to the knights. The knights would give military services to the nobles. And eventually the nobles would give money back to the king. It was this very complex system of government where land had different people living on it with different interests, right? The same piece of land was owned by the vassals, was owned by the nobles, and ultimately owned by the king. So when you start seeing this idea of future and present interests, that the same piece of land has all these different people living on it, it's based on that concept, right? There was usually not one owner at a time, that different people had different interests in the land in different ways, right? Even the phrase landlord, right? You ever think about that? Where did the phrase landlord come from? Well, that's not good. Yep. The landlord was the lord of the land, right? Literally, he was the lord of the land. And hello. And the idea of a tenant, right? Landlord-tenant relationship. The serfs were often called tenants. Right? Even the terminology we use every day to describe property law is premised on medieval times. Come on, stay. Good. All right, this angle's off. All right. Everyone with me so far? There we go. Okay, get the right angles. Okay, everyone with me so far? Okay. At the time, property law was very limited. It was very rare that people would sell property. The idea was you kept it in your family, right? You kept it in your bloodline in the hope that one day your children, and not just your children, your oldest male-born son, right? This is what's called primogenitor. Here, I'll just type the word. It's in the reading, but I'll just mention it. Oh, wow, that's small. Sorry about that. Primogenitor, right? Primogenitor is the idea that it's your firstborn male who inherits. Primo meaning first, gen meaning generation, son, right? Primogenitor is your firstborn male who inherit. And these very elaborate frameworks were designed to control land, to keep it in your bloodline. Right? But what happens if, let's say, your oldest born son was a drunk? Your oldest born son had gambling debts. He was a irresponsible person. Are you really going to leave to your oldest born son who will just destroy it? And what if your grandson happens to be very smart and very responsible? What if you want to maybe skip over your son? Or maybe you just give it to your son for his life, and then when he dies, it goes to the grandson. Okay, so I can see where I'm going, right? A lot of the mechanisms that we have, like the life estate, for example, are designed to control property after you die. Now, if you have a very wealthy landlord and he wants to control what happens to his land, he can use present interests and future interests to control those interests, right? To ensure his drunk son can't get rid of the property, to keep it in the family. Everyone with me so far. So when we're talking about present and future interests, don't just think about, today in your 2022, whatever, I remember the year. 2000, I still think it's 2020. 2021 never happened, right? Happy New Year, never happened. When you think about these topics, right, you have to think about it in terms of medieval times, right, during the Dark Ages, because so many of our ideas are based on that period. All right. If we go with the history so far, did I boggle any of your minds? Did I blow you away? Okay. Let me show you some more pictures before we get into the hard stuff, right? This is a picture of the different elements of the feudal pyramid. So you have the cleric, the priest, who provide religious services. You have the knight in the armor, providing the sort of security. And you have the serf or the peasant who do the farming, right? Everyone sort of had their role, and there was no upward mobility. If you were not born into the right class, you were kind of stuck there. And you were basically tied to your land at any point in time. Here's a picture of the serfs toiling on the land. This is what make it a little bit bigger. This is what a medieval manor might look like. You see that there are all these sort of stripes, and so all the basically the parcels are chopped up. Each of these parcels might belong to a different person, right? This would belong to person A, and that belongs to person B, and that belongs to person C. And the reason why they have these sort of horizontal lines is they would alternate crops. If you use the same soil for too many times, you actually burn out the soil. You destroy the soil. So they would rotate crops from one to the next, and they help to keep the soil fresh. So there's these very elaborate processes while they have these chopping up here, there, different lines. It was a very elaborate system of how it developed. Let's see, more. Yeah, here you see the different land that was cultivated for different purposes. Okay. Oh, by the way, remember the turf and twig? This is another picture of the turf and twig ceremony. They actually did it for real. This is the liver of season. You can see it here as well. This is the I'm sure the native people in Newcastle, Delaware, really knew what the hell was going on behind this turf and twig. But this is actually how the land of Pennsylvania was formed with a turf and twig. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I'm sure they know. All right, everyone with me? Questions so far? All right, there's a lot of this stuff in the reading that you're like, oh my God, Black, what the hell is this? Okay. I'm very regret what I'm about to say. You need to know it in the general sense, right? Of where this history came from. I'm not going to answer what the specific terms are, okay? But in the general sense, you'll need to know it. That's all I'm going to say about it. Understood? Okay. All right. I want to walk you through now a couple concepts. And this is going to take, I think, the entire class. Maybe we'll do some poll questions, maybe we won't, but this will take a lot of the class. All right. And this is not sort of a surprise. In the case summary folder that I see, at least 19 if you're looking at right now, there's a couple documents. These are guides that I wrote to help you walk through this. So what I'm doing now is already in your materials. If you don't get what I'm doing here, go back and rewatch the video while you're reading through this. If you don't get today's class, come talk to me right away, because it gets bumpy next week, right? If this doesn't make sense, the rest of the semester is going to just be painful. And I know the way to say it. I don't like being so blunt, but it's from experience. It's you gotta have the foundation today. All right. Okay, so let's talk about what an estate is, right? Again, the word estate doesn't refer to what happens when someone dies, right? That term precisely just in general language. An estate really answers two questions, right? And when do they own it, right? Who owns it? When do they own it? I keep repeating those questions over and over again because they are important questions. And there are two broad categories of estates. There are present interests and there are future interests. There's a present interest and there are future interests. Notice I said interest singular in the present, future interest plural in the future, right? At any point in time, there's going to be one present interest. Uno, one. But there can be one or more future interests, plural. When you start thinking about these questions, whenever you see a question on estate, your head should immediately think, okay, what are the present interests and future interests? Immediately, right? Even if I don't ask you about both of them, you'll need to know them. Because sometimes, and this is going to sound crazy, to know what the future interests are, you have to know what the present interests are. And sometimes to know what the present interests are, you know what the future interests are. You have to go backwards and forwards. So when you look at these sort of conveyances, you have to think, okay, what are the present interests and what are the future interests? You have to be able to work forward and backwards. And I'll give you just a really simple example, right? Right? I'm the landlord, right? I rent you an apartment for the fall semester, right? You have a present interest for the fall semester. And when that semester concludes, it goes back to me. I might rent it to her for the spring semester. So right now you have the present interest for the apartment, and she has a future interest for the apartment in the spring semester. All right? Very simple example, but illustrates at any point in time, someone has it now, someone has it in the future. But eventually, after the spring semester finishes, it goes back to the landlord, unless there's another tenant, right? There's always going to be a present interest and a future interest at any point in time. You have to sort of account for them. Everyone with me so far? Okay. All right. I'm going to do things a little bit out of order, right? The book does fee simple first and then life estate. I'm going to flip it, and then it'll make more sense why when I get to the end of class. The first present interest we've already discussed. It's the life estate. The life estate. No one lives forever. We are all mortal. We all die. All men are mortal, as they say. Eventually, we die. Property law reflects this. It's a very long tradition in property law to give a person something for their life. Because we know at some point in time, we all die. We will all die. If you give a person some property for the duration of their life, it's called a life estate. That is a present interest. It lasts the duration of their life. It's right now. Okay? So take a look at the example on the screen, please. 1A. Again, these are also in the notes, so if you don't follow them here, you can get in the notes also. Example 1A. Oscar, by the way, why Oscar? O. And O is the original. That's just the way we do it, right? Oscar gives Adam a life estate in Blackacre. All right. First off, what the hell is Blackacre? I don't know. But for whatever reason, property books always use the phrase Blackacre. There's Blackacre, there's Whiteacre, there's Greenacre, there's Redacre, Blueacre, etc. I've looked into it. There's no real good explanation why. There's some theories. black peas and different types of peas. We really have no idea, or we have no clue. But there it is, Blackacre. There's Blackacre, there's Whiteacre, there's Greenacre, etc. You have a land called Blackacre. Oscar gives Adam a life estate in Blackacre. All right. Let's start calling people. Who am I up to next? So Mar, with this first example, 1A. Oh, it's a little bit bigger so we can see it. 1A. What happens, Amar, when Adam dies? Do Adam's heirs inherit Blackacre?
No, because at that time it's a present interest, so Oscar has the future interest.
That's exactly right. In this scenario, when Adam dies, Adam's heirs do not inherit Blackacre. Adam's interest terminates upon his death, right? The present interest belongs to Adam. The future interest, like Amar says, belongs to Oscar. Right? Now, this might seem perfectly, easy to understand. Oscar gives Adam an estate in Blackacre for life. That's just English, right? But unfortunately, in property, we use a very specific law, a language, right? We use very specific terminology. You'll just need to speak like this. I have no way to explain to you otherwise. You'll need to learn to use these sort of phrases. It's not common. It's not logical. We have to learn to speak this way. So here's the phrase. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life. I mean, it's very similar. I mean, it's not like totally different, but you need to understand how you say it. You start with the name of the property. I can't tell you why. That's just the way it's been done for 1,000 years. Blackacre. From Oscar to Adam. Okay, that makes sense. It's going from Oscar to Adam. And then we have the duration. For life. We do not say life estate. You just don't say it. You say for life. I couldn't tell you why. That's just the way it's done. Okay? The phrase for life indicates that you're giving a life estate. Right? And again, what this sentence means, Sean. With this sentence, what's the present interest?
Present interest goes to Adam.
Okay, what do you call that present interest? Good. So we say Adam has a present interest in life estate. In life estate. It's a weird phrase. Why is it in life estate? I couldn't tell you, but that's what we say. Adam has a present interest in life estate in Blackacre. And then Sean, so what's the future interest in this one?
That goes back to Oscar.
Right, so we say Oscar has a future interest in Blackacre. I'll describe what that interest is later. I don't want to do that yet. I don't want to overwhelm you. But for now, we say Oscar has a future interest in Blackacre. And we say that Adam has a present interest in life estate in Blackacre. We'll get to Oscar in a minute, I promise. Everyone with me? Simple, right? Yeah. Hold my beer, as they say. But hold it. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Example 1C. This is where things get a little spooky. One of the things that makes these transactions complicated is that they're different levels or different layers, right? You can stack one on top of the other. In fact, I will always stack them. It's very rare to just have one conveyance. So consider this one, all right? Example 1C. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life. So it's actually, the first sentence is the same as the one before it. And the second sentence. Blackacre from Adam to Betty for Adam's life. Ooh. All right, Holden. So let's break this down one step at a time, right? So just do the first sentence first. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life, period. Just what's going on there? Just the first sentence.
Like the other two before is life estate.
Who has a life estate here?
Giving it to Adam.
Okay, Adam has a life estate, right? So Adam has a present interest in life estate. Just repeat. I know it's not natural. Adam has a present interest in life estate, right? And how long does that estate last? So the duration of Adam's life. Do me a favor, don't say he, because there's Oscar and Adam, and then we don't know who's, and it's not a criticism, but in general, avoid pronouns when you're writing law. Just use a person's name, because there are always going to be he's and she's, and it just gets complicated. Just use a person's name, makes life easier for a lot of reasons. All right. So Adam has a present interest in life estate in Blackie. And then we say that Oscar is a future interest. All right. So we know Adam's estate terminates when Adam died, right, Holden? So let's go to the next sentence. Blackacre from Adam to Betty for Adam's wife. What on earth is going on there? What can you do that? Is that allowed? So what is Adam actually doing there?
He's giving his like part of his bundle to Betty.
Is he giving part of his bundle?
Or no, the whole actually not he's giving his
That's right. Explain it. You're 100% correct. Just explain your reasoning here.
So he got it from Oscar and then
It doesn't yet. What did he get from Oscar?
Adam got his life estate.
Okay, so Adam got a life estate from Oscar, which lasts the duration of Adam's life. Then what happened?
Adam gave his life. He gave life estate to Betty. Or no,
No, you're right. But just to be precise, what did Adam give to Betty? What did Adam give to Betty?
his life. His life estate?
Yes, which lasts how long?
His life.
And what happens when Adam dies? Does Betty get to keep when Adam dies?
No, she only has his life.
And what happens to Blackacre after Adam dies? Gotta go somewhere. Where's the future interest?
Awesome.
There you go, Oscar. So again, in this scenario, right? Adam has a present interest in life estate. Oscar has a future interest. None of that can change, right? Adam's bundle is pretty small. His bundle is only a life estate. All he has to give. Adam gives his life estate to Betty. Adam gives his life estate to Betty. Betty now has an estate, an interest, that's measured by Adam's life, right? Betty's interest is measured by Adam's life. As soon as Adam dies, Betty loses it. And where's it go? Oscar. Why? Because Oscar always had the future interest. He's sort of just waiting around, waiting for this guy to die. It's kind of gross, right? Oscar's just chilling, waiting for Adam to die. Because as soon as Adam dies, it goes back to Oscar. Everyone with me? All right. So again, Betty has an interest that's measured by the life of Adam, right? Betty's interest is measured by the duration of Adam's life. There's actually a special name here. Let me write this one out. Start giving you some of your notes, right? So we say Adam has a present interest in life estate. Okay. And we say that Oscar has a future interest. Don't describe it yet. I'll get there later. I promise. You don't want to. Just trust in this one. Just your notes will be complete. We'll get there later. Now what about Betty? Betty has a. What does Betty have? M-A-R, Margaret. I always was first ask the word. You know, two Margarets trying to keep track of marks, right? Margaret, what exactly does Betty have here? Well, no, because Adam gave Betty his entire bundle of sticks. What exactly does Betty have here? Yeah, do you know what you call that? Remember that from the notes? You don't know what it's called? You don't have it's French. Yeah, enough Latin. I get French. No. What? It was raising. I can't see you speaking. You have mask on, so I can't see you speaking. No, not scudded. Yeah. Exactly. Say it again, please. That's right. I usually spell it wrong. A-U, that's it. Very good. Thank you. Exactly. It's in the notes. It's in the reading. I'm not making this up. A couple of your classmates know it. So Betty has a present interest in life estate per atrevie. Okay, it's a French term, and it basically means a life estate measured by someone else's life. It's not measured by Betty's life, because she might live to be 120. Doesn't matter. The second Adam dies, her bundle of six just goes back to Oscar. Everyone with me? Betty has a life estate per atrevie. That's present interest. Now, Paige, didn't I tell you a few minutes ago that they're going to be an interest at the time? How did I just write these two sentences? Did I just screw up? Did I make a mistake? I told you can be one present interest at a time. You can't have co-ownership, which I think Margaret said a minute ago, which wasn't quite right. How can you have two present interests? Think about it. Do you have two present interests at the same time? When Adam conveys to Betty, does Adam save anything for himself? Yes. So when Adam gives his interest to Betty, who has the only present interest? Betty. The periods are very important, right? You see this? I know it sounds stupid, but trust me, this one. See the punctuation? There's a period there. Really important. In this class, commas and periods are your friends. Trust me on this one. When you see a period, that means there's a new present interest coming. Right? When you see there's a period, that means there's a new transaction and there's going to be a new present interest coming. Not always, but at least for now, that's going to be a good thing for you. Again, there are exceptions to all these rules, but I'm telling you, like most of the time, we see a period, it means it's a new present interest. So initially, with sentence number 1, Adam was a present interest in life estate, and Oscar is a future interest. That's sentence number 1. Then sentence number 2, Oscar still has the future interest. That doesn't go anywhere. Right? Oscar's future interest remains. He's sort of just hanging out ready for someone to die. But now Betty's got the present interest. The present interest is measured by the life of Adam. We call it life estate per atrevie. Yeah.
So if Betty dies, does Adam then Oscar then get that into interest on Adam?
No, that's actually not what happens. Who's next? So Jaime, let me ask you a question. What happens if Betty dies? What happens if Betty dies? Does Adam have any interest here after Betty dies?
I think so.
Right. Does Oscar get it back when Betty dies? Well, what's the duration of Betty's estate? And Adam's still alive. So does Oscar get it back earlier? What do you think happens when Betty dies?
Betty dies?
When Betty dies?
It goes back to Adam.
No. Adam gave it away. He has no interest in the bundle anymore.
He goes back to Oscar.
No, Oscar will not get it until Adam dies. He doesn't get it earlier. Again, the second Oscar does a transaction, he will not get it back a minute before Adam's death. He only gets it back upon Adam's death. So Jaime, where does it go? What usually happens to a person when they die to their property? To where?
Heir.
They're heirs. Betty's heirs. So to answer Mark's question, if Betty dies, Betty's heirs inherit Blackacre. But still, once Adam dies, the heirs lose it. Right. When you create a life estate, it is the most efficient estate you can possibly have because you know when it starts and you know when it finishes. The second he dies, it's over and it goes back to Oscar. Everyone with me? But Adam's heirs will inherit nothing. That's for sure. Right? Betty's heirs actually might inherit it briefly, but the heirs of Adam inherit nothing. They can't, because once Adam's dead, it's gone. It goes back to Oscar. Did I lose you yet? Yes, Tatiana.
So if Betty dies,
Yep.
and it goes to her heirs, and then say her heirs die, it'll go back to Oscar.
No, it doesn't go back to Oscar until Adam dies.
So I said if Betty dies,
I'm sorry. I say it again. I misheard you. I'm sorry.
sorry, if Betty dies and it goes to her
Only when Adam dies. It doesn't. Everyone has heirs, right? You have 100 heirs. You don't even know it, but you have heirs everywhere, right? Your cousin, your sister, your brother, right? Everyone has heirs. Everyone, trust me, this one. Everyone has heirs, right? There are very rare cases where you can't find them. There's one story maybe a decade ago where a person, his entire family was killed in the Holocaust. He had no kids, nothing. He had no heirs. Like just there was no one they could find, and he had like a huge estate of millions of dollars. That's going to be the exception. Everyone has heirs. Ben?
I'm not sure if I got lost, but is that only if he's giving the present interest in life estate to Adam and his heirs?
That actually doesn't matter here. We'll get to the end his heirs part in a few minutes. That doesn't matter here, right? Because Betty has it as a present interest, and her kids will just inherit that present interest, but that interest lasts only the duration of his life.
So he doesn't have to say it's something like
I'll get there later. Don't confuse us yet. We'll get there later, I promise. I'm going really slow, guys. I'm building up, and I'm deliberately omitting stuff to avoid confusing you. Ryder.
Would Adam only have, so if we list out Adam has a present interest in life estate, would it actually be Adam has a life estate because doesn't Betty only have a present?
Not yet, before the period. Betty's got nothing. Right? Again, if you want, I can just put I can do that, right? You have to look at the punctuation. I know it sounds stupid, but it really matters. When you have the period, it's a different story. It's a completely different present interest. So at this point, first sentence, Adam has a present interest in life estate. Correct. Period. Adam's got nothing. Now Betty's got the present interest in life estate, part B. So you have to look at the punctuation very carefully. If you don't, you'll lose your way. And I promise you, I will always use periods or commas appropriately. I won't try and trick you on the punctuation. I can trick you on other things that are much easier to trick you on. That I'm not going to screw with the punctuation. Punctuation is very important in general. Okay, everyone with me? Everyone with me? All right, we'll move on. So far, we've done a present interest called the life estate. But now I want to do the other one that the book puts first, called the fee simple. All right, fee simple. All right. The fee simple is the most basic or simple, if you will, estate. It's also called a fee simple absolute. I don't like that phrase for reasons that'll become clear in about 2 weeks. I don't even bother boring with you yet. I won't say fee simple absolute, but if you use books or the resources that might see that, I just go to fee simple. The short answer why is there are different types of fee simples. Several different kinds. And I think the word absolute actually makes it more confusing, but it's there. So you'll definitely see it. When we talk about the fee simple, we're talking about the full bundle of sticks, right? We're talking about the full, oops, did I put this in the wrong one? No, it's the right one, right? We're talking about the fee simple, we're talking about the full bundle of sticks. I think I actually put this on the wrong line, I apologize. This was, for example, 1C, not 2C, so I'm sorry about that. The text was correct, I just was typing in the wrong spot. All right, when we talk about the fee simple, we're talking about the full bundle of sticks. And that could mean the right to buy, the right to sell, right? The right to exclude, the right to occupy, right? The entire bundle of sticks we talked about. But all those rights are also conditioned on time. So you think of the bundle of sticks, it's not just the right to exclude, the right to buy and sell, but when can you do those things, right? Maybe you can occupy in the summer, but you can occupy in the winter, right? Maybe you can sell it after a certain date, but not right now. Everything in property, again, is these two questions. When do you own it? I'm sorry, what do you own and when do you own it? Who owns it and when do they own it? The fee simple is the everything. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. No limitations at all. All right? If you rent an apartment, you do not have fee simple. Your landlord tells you what to do. If you buy a house, you have a mortgage, you don't really have fee simple either because the mortgage might come back and take your property. But if you buy your property, you own it outright, there's no other claims against it, you probably have fee simple. All right? So look at number 2A. You could say Adam a fee simple in Blackacre, right? That would be normal English. All right. Jacob, this is going to be a question that might seem simple, but it's actually very hard. How long does this fee simple last for? What's the duration of this fee simple in 2A?
I feel like it's as long as Adam wants it to be.
Well, how long is that?
Well, if he controls, I guess, like the entire timeline of the estate, then he can only control anything until he's dead.
Oh, so that's the wrinkle, right? You want to say forever, right? Remember the book, there's that little infinity thing? But Jacob identified the problem. No one lives forever, do they? We all die. But you hinted at the answer, right? What's the duration of the estate? Well, it lasts his life, but what's the duration of his control of the estate? Forever. And I think that's the sort of the way you have to look at it. The duration is not just how long are you going to own the land because we all die. It's what's the duration of your control, right? Can you control what happens after your death? That's the magic of the fee simple. Right, with a life estate, you cannot control what happens after you die. You can't. When you die, it goes where it goes. You just have no control over it. With a fee simple, you can control what happens after you die. You can leave it to your heirs. You can leave it to your neighbor, right? You can leave it to your cat. People leave property to their pets. You can do that, right? You can donate your property to charity, right? You can give it to the government. You can buy it. You can sell your property, right? You can destroy it if you want. With a fee simple, you are in command. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. So again, the tricky part is, of course, the duration is really only as long as you're alive, because you can't have an interest after you're dead. When you're dead, you're dead. But you can control what happens upon your death. You can control what happens after you sell it, right? You can give it to someone on a condition saying, okay, I'm giving you this land, but if something else happens, it comes back to me. You can do that. Or you can say, you know what? I got a fee simple. I'm going to give Adam a life estate. Yeah. Oscar has fee simple. He gives Adam a life estate. Because he knows once Adam dies, it comes back to my family. Even if I'm dead, it comes back to my heirs. You keep the land and your family by maintaining a fee simple. Everyone with me? All right. When you're conveying a fee simple, you have to use very precise language. This is example number 2B. 2B or not to be? No, 2B. It says, Blackacre from Oscar to Adam and his heirs. This was Ben's question. I started yelling a minute ago. Unfortunately, we don't use the word fee simple. That would just make it too damn easy, right? We use the phrase and his heirs. When you see the phrase and his heirs, you got to think in your head fee simple. You just have to memorize that. I'm sorry. There's no way around it. The phrase and his heirs is like a code for fee simple. When you say to Adam and his heirs, what you're doing is you're giving to Adam in fee simple. And it actually makes some sense, right? The idea of a fee simple is you can control what happens after you die, right? You can give it to your heirs. It's not going to go back to someone else. But here's where people get tripped up. It doesn't have to go to your heirs. If you have a fee simple, you can leave it to your neighbor or your cat or someone else, right? You're not required to. In olden times, you have to leave it to your heirs. That's just how it was done. But today, there's no requirement for a fee simple to go to your heirs. You can leave it to whoever you want. You can sell it, right? You're not required to keep it. So don't take the phrase and his heirs literally. It's not to be taken literally. It's a code phrase. It's a way of describing a fee simple. Everyone with me? Everyone understand so far? Yes, Laura.
Just for clarification, so in 2B, Oscar is giving Adam a fee simple.
Correct. Oscar's giving Adam a fee simple. And now Adam is a fee simple. Oscar's at nothing. Laura, not Laura, I'm sorry, Lisa. Sorry. Lisa, in example 2B, who has the present interest? What's his present interest? I'm sorry? Very good. So we say that Adam has a present interest in life. I'm sorry, sorry, in fee simple. Now, Lisa, I'm sorry, here comes a follow-up question. Who has a future interest in this one? Yeah, right. I know, I can see what you're thinking. That's pretty much correct. Well, why are you saying that's a good answer? Why is it to nobody?
Because Oscar has, when Oscar gives fee simple to Adam,
Good.
he's giving him complete control.
Full bundle of sticks. Does Oscar keep any sticks for himself? No sticks. So who has the full bundle of sticks here?
Adam.
Yeah, so look, I don't want to say nobody because that'll just make your nose dreadful, right? But Adam basically controls the future, right? If there is a future interest that belongs to Adam, we don't really even say it, but we say with a fee simple, Adam has present interest, and in fee simple, there's no future interest. There's nothing that comes after it. But nobody's actually pretty good answer. Everyone see why that is. Adam decides what happens upon his death. Maybe he gives it to his heirs. Maybe he gives it to his neighbor, right? Maybe he gives it to his cat. We don't know who he gives it to, but it's his choice. He's in command. He controls what happens. Right, so this is a way I can trip you up very quickly. If it's a fee simple and ask you who has a future interest, don't say Oscar, because that's wrong. Oscar's got nothing. He gave up his entire stick bundle, nothing on it.
If you ask who has future interest, can we say Adam has the future?
You can say that, yeah. I think the way I would say it, and again, I'm not going to write this because it's sort of odd, is Adam controls the future interest of the property. You don't really have it, you can control what happens after. That's how I would try to phrase it. But nobody is not wrong. I think Lisa actually gave a good answer. Yes, Leah.
Can Oscar give it to Adam or give his property to Adam and specify I'm only giving it to you if you transfer it to your heirs?
He can do that, but that's not a fee simple. That's something else, right? Fee simple means 100% control. If Oscar puts some conditions on the money, on the land, then it's not a fee simple. Because then there's a future interest, right? And I don't want to go too far into the weeds, but if Oscar says, I'm giving you the land if you do X, well, what happens if he doesn't do X? Goes back to Oscar. So then there is a future interest. If there's a future interest in someone else, it cannot be a fee simple. The definition of fee simple is that there's no future interest elsewhere. It has to be belonging to Adam entirely. But very good question, man. Everyone, I'm going real slow, guys. Real slow. We're an hour and I'm only on 2 examples. Everyone with me. All right, let's try 2C. All right, 2C. Okay, so again, in this sentence, there's 2 sentences. Again, the periods are super duper important, right? We have 2 transactions separated by period. Sentence number 1 says, Blackacre from Oscar to Adam and his heirs. Okay, so Billy, that's his name was before. What does the first sentence do?
Has a present interest in fee simple.
Excellent, right. Adam's a present interest in fee simple. Does Oscar have an interest at all?
No.
Okay. Then we get to the second sentence. Adam, what happened second sentence?
Betty has a present interest in fee simple.
Correct. Adam gave Betty his fee simple. And then what can Betty do with that, Billy? Once Betty has the fee simple, Betty. Once Betty has the fee simple, what can Betty do with the land? Whatever she wants. She can sell it. She can leave it in fee simple. Right? You can convey fee simple from one to the next. Right? The most basic distinction between a life estate and a fee simple is control. With the fee simple, you can decide who gets the future interest, right? You decide what happens in the future. But with a life estate, you do not have control. Your control ends at your death. Okay? Your control ends at your death. Sounds gruesome, but it's true. How are we doing? Questions? We're going to example number 3. Questions? Oh yeah, Shadi, I'm sorry. I didn't see it at the corner of my eye.
So, you say that he controls.
Who's he? Are we talking about Adam?
Or, I'm sorry, yeah, that's right. The person who has the fee simple controls what happens in the future.
Yes.
He doesn't do anything, he doesn't do the will, doesn't say anything.
It goes with heirs. You can do that, right? You're not required to control, so you have an option. It's you have the choice. Right? The fee simple gives you the choice of whether or not to actually control it. You don't have to. You do nothing. You don't have to control it. Whatever, it's your choice to do it or not do it. Questions on 2A, B, or C? Yes, Alex.
If you were given a fee simple, and then while you were alive, you give fee simple to somebody else.
Correct. That's example 2C.
Can you revoke it?
No.
Give it to somebody else?
Gifts cannot be revoked. That's what we learned in last class, right? Once Adam gives up his fee simple to Betty, Adam's got no interest. Right? Once Oscar gave his fee simple to Adam, Oscar's nothing left. You cannot revoke a gift unless you outlive it, right? You put a condition on it, which we'll do later. You can do that. But if you give a straight up fee simple, it's gone. You cannot revoke it at any point. Questions? Yes, Ben?
So, I guess in all of the examples we've done so far, O is starting off with the fee simple.
Yes. Let me pause you right there. In every example we've done so far, O starting with the fee simple. You can't always presume that to be the case, but it's a good assumption to make. Right? Unless I tell you otherwise, you can presume O has a fee simple to start. I might give you some facts. Otherwise, that's a good assumption to start with. Is that the question? Yeah. Right. This doesn't work. Let me answer Ben's question differently. Zach, if Oscar does not have a fee simple, can he pay a fee simple? What's the only way Oscar can give a fee simple?
You can only give the license to get not fee simple.
Well, there are other kinds, but the short answer is correct. The only way Oscar can pay a fee simple is if he has a fee simple. You can't give more than what you have, right? You can only give what 6 you have in the bundle. Now, I'm warning you, this is the Ben's question. People commit fraud, right? People sell stuff they don't own all the time. On my exams, people sell stuff all the time they do not own. And one of the challenges is finding, okay, did Oscar really have that fee simple or not? And that's like another layer of the question. But at least for now, I think you can presume Oscar got a fee simple. I can give you facts that suggest otherwise later, but we'll keep it simple now. All right, everyone with me so far? All right, so example 3. All right, example 3. All right. So far, we've done 2 kinds of present interest, the fee simple and the life estate, right? With the fee simple, there's control over the future. With a life estate, there is no control over the future. Now we want to turn to future interests, right? The future interests. Specifically, what comes after a life estate? There is no future interest after a fee simple, right? We discussed that, right? That was Lisa's point a minute ago. There's nobody. There's no future interest after a fee simple. But after a life estate, there will be a future interest. There has to be, because everyone dies. And there are 2 types of future interests after a life estate. There are 2 types. And my friends, you're going to confuse them. I probably will myself. I'll be guilty of it. If I do it, you can yell at me. Reversion and remainder. Reversion and remainder. You can see why people confuse them. They both begin with RE, and they sound alike. Reversion, remainder. You are going to confuse them. It happens. I'm gonna screw it up myself. But these are different types of future interests that can follow a life estate. Your challenge for the next 30 minutes or so is to keep them straight. Remember which is which. You're going to confuse them. Trust me. I'm warning you. Don't be mad at yourself, but they're very easy to mix up. It's happened to millions of law students. You'll be just the next in the line. Or maybe you won't. Maybe you guys will be super and just be 1, 2, 3. But take your time with this. All right. So let's go back to example 3A. Okay. Oscar gives Adam a life estate in Blackacre. John. So again, what's the present interest in example 3A, please?
The president is for as long as I live.
Say it in more legalistic language, if you could, please. What's the sort of the jargon way of saying it? We've said it before.
Adam has a present interest in life.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, again, I know it's not normal to say it, but just start speaking like this, right? We'd say here that Adam has a present interest in life estate. Okay, fine. What happens, Frank? What happens after Adam dies? You're giving me the correct answer for like 3 questions down the road. So I'm going to just pull you. I mean, you're right. You anticipate maybe 3 questions there, but when this Adam's still alive, right? When this transaction is written, what in normal English, right? Just in normal English, what happens after Adam dies? Goes back to Oscar, right? Goes back to Oscar. So who has the future interest here? Okay, so we say Oscar has a future interest, right? When this transaction is written, Adam has the present interest in life estate, and then Oscar has some future interest. Oscar didn't give that interest to anyone else. He kept it for himself, right? He kept it for himself. How do we know it goes back to Oscar? We have to sort of use our reasoning, right? It doesn't say to Adam for life, then back to Oscar. It does not say that. But we have to reason. If someone has a life estate, after he dies, it's got to go somewhere, right? Property has to belong to someone. Who's the only other person mentioned here? Oscar, right? We have to realize that there's a bundle of sticks. Present interest belongs to Adam. Future interest is to go back somewhere. It's got to be to Oscar. It does not say to Adam for life, then back to Oscar. It does not say that. But you need to think why that is. You need to realize it's got to go somewhere, and this is Oscar keeping an interest for himself. Everyone get that part, right? Property has to belong to someone. Property can't belong to no one, right? There always must be a present interest at any point in time. There has to be. There cannot be just chaos. All right? All right, so it goes back to Oscar, because Oscar is a future interest. All right? But now let's try example 3B. And let's try and write this out in sort of the language of the law. Okay? Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life. Right, again, we say Adam has a present interest in life estate. Okay? But let's talk about Oscar for a bit more. Oscar started off with a fee simple, right? That's what we started off with. This was Ben's question a minute ago. And then Oscar chopped his estate in half. He gave the present interest over to Adam. Right? He transferred the present interest to Adam. And he kept the future interest for himself. You can do that, right? You can chop it up however you want. Right? So we can say that Adam has a present interest, and Oscar has a future interest. And let's just label who's who. Oscar is a transferor, and Adam's a transferee. This matters for reasons that become clear in a minute, right? The transferor is the person who gives the property, and the transferee is the person who receives the property. Trust me, this will make more sense. Remember, when the word ends in EE, it's who, me, right? Who's getting it? Oscar's a transferor, and Adam's a transferee. The conveyance does not explain who gets Blackacre after the death of Adam. But we know there are only two people mentioned. It's got to go somewhere. It goes back to the transferor. Okay. What do we call a future interest that follows a life estate that goes back to the transferor? What do we call that? Chloe? What's that called? A reversion. That's right. Exactly. Thank you. Oscar has a reversion. I'll just delete future interest. I'm sorry, I put that wrong. A future interest in reversion. Oscar has a future interest in reversion. I'm not done yet. I should delete this period because I'm anticipating someone's question. I'm not quite done the sentence yet. Oscar has a future interest in reversion. Let me type this definition for you loud and clear. Okay. A reversion is a future interest that follows a life estate and that goes back to the transferor. I always spell this wrong. Transferor. A reversion is a future interest that follows a life estate and that goes back to the transferor. Memorize that, please. I don't ask you to memorize many things, but this one you have to memorize. If you try and summarize it or just sort of say restate in your own words, you're gonna create chaos. This rule will become very important in about 2 weeks. You don't know why it's important, but it's very important. So don't try and paraphrase it. Just write it down how I said and just read this one, right? A reversion is a future interest that follows a life estate and that goes back to the transferor. Okay. So we have a life estate. Adams. He dies. What happens back to the transferor? Oscar. That's reversion. The reversion is a very simple future interest. There's no conditions. It's easy. It's upon his death. It goes back to the transferor, Oscar. Everyone get that? Why that's a reversion? Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to give you another tip. When I said it goes back to the transfer, right? It goes back. A lot of you might want to use the phrase reverts. I think someone did that last class. They jumped on you. Or maybe it was in the other section. Can't remember. Do not say revert. R-E-V-E-R-T. Don't say revert. Why? Because there's something called the possibility of reverter. We'll study that later. Trust me, there's reversion, remainder, and reverter. It sucks, but that's what we have. Do not say revert. It says goes back to. Just use goes back to. It's easy. It's plain English. It's understandable. All right. Again, reversion is a future interest that follows a life estate, and it goes back to the transferor, the grantor. Everyone with me so far? I don't believe you, but I'll take your word for it. Everyone with me so far? Questions? Ask them now. I'm going super slow today. Yeah, is that a question? Is that a question over there? No? Okay. Yeah.
So what's the new statement? Oscar has a reversion?
Yeah. Right over here. So Oscar has a future interest in reversion. Okay. I'm not quite done yet, though. Do I want to do this now or later? Yeah, I'll do it now. So I didn't put a period at the end of the sentence. Oscar has a future interest in reversion. So let's think about this for a minute, right? Oscar started off with a fee simple. he gave a life estate to Adam. So he carved up his fee simple. Callie, what happens when Adam dies? What actually does Oscar have once again? A fee simple. When Adam dies, Oscar gets a fee simple again. His bundle of sticks comes back. It merges, right? He now has both the present and future interests all merged together. So if you want to be precise, and this is something that law students like to be, you should all be, we would say Oscar has a future interest reversion in simple. Isn't that confusing the way you have to write that out? But you're basically describing what's going to happen. You're saying, okay, that's nice. Adam is a life estate, but when he dies, there'll be reversion in fee simple. So there's a future interest in reversion in fee simple. This is how I want you to write things out in your notes. You're going to take a shortcut. So yeah, Oscar has a reversion in fee simple. Just at least for now, trust me. Just spell it out. Oscar has a future interest in reversion in fee simple. Period. Right? Don't try to summarize things because you're gonna want to take shortcuts. Trust me. So, oh, Josh, can I abbreviate like FS instead of fee simple? Don't abbreviate. Don't write LE instead of life estate. I know you're going to want to do it. Just spell it out because there are other types of FSs that are going to just do something else. So just spell it out. Your notes will be a little bit longer. But we say that the future interest is a reversion in fee simple. All right. Everyone. Yes, Ben.
So just to clarify, I was starting out with fee simple.
Correct.
He gives the present interest to Adam.
Correct.
Loses the fee simple.
Correct.
And then when he gets it back, he gets it back.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly the chronology. You start off with a fee simple, you chop up your bundle, you give him a life estate, and then upon his death, the stick comes back, you have a full bundle again, your fee simple. Right? I mean, that's why the fee simple is so powerful. You control it. Because you know at some point you can get your whole interest back. You can always control the future. Yes?
Does a version only exist in physical?
No. Right. You can do reversion other things, and that would be a very neat exam question. You can look. You could do reversion life estate. Blow your mind for a bit. You can do that. It wouldn't make much sense, but you can do it. You can do it. You can do anything you want. Like lawyers, again, this isn't the sort of history that I didn't make you study too much. This is all designed to avoid taxes, right? The way taxes work is every time you convey property, you pay the tax. So you have these very elaborate conditions where there's only one conveyance that accomplish. Like this is one sentence, right? One sentence. That one sentence we tax once, even though there are many things that go on after it. All this complexity stuff was done to avoid taxes. There's nothing new in the world, right? There's nothing new in the world. But does that answer your question, Jeff? Okay. Yes, James.
So for reversion, the difference between that and remainder, reversion.
I'm not doing remainder. I did not do remainder. Because we're talking just reversion. I'll get to remainder in a few minutes. One step at a time.
So with reversion, it's always going to be in fee simple.
No, that was just Jen's question. It doesn't have to be. You can have reversions in life estate. It will like 99% be in fee simple. It doesn't have to be. I could torch you with the I've done that before with different types of reversions, but it's usually fee simple.
So when he has a life estate, or when Adam has a life estate, is it accurate to think of it as the fee simple does not exist?
At that present time, there is no fee simple, but there will be in the future, right? Because upon the death of Adam, the fee simple sort of reunites. It comes back together. All right. How are we doing? All right. I told you I'll go slow. Gets faster later, but we're going slow now. All right, let's look at 3C. Oh, let me ask another question. Now let's skip that one. Let's go to 3C. Okay. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life. Okay. Then Blackacre from Adam to Betty for life. We did this example already. Right? We already did this example. Right? So let's try it again. Who am I up to? Yes. I can't see your head. Aaron, thank you so much. So Aaron, in example 3C, please, what's Adam's interest?
Adam has a life estate in Blackacre.
Yeah, he has a present interest in life estate. And just humor me and just spell it out. I know you know the answer, but just spell out present interest. To actually say it. Okay, what about Oscar?
Oscar has a future interest.
Okay, that's good for now. Future interest in Blackacre. Okay, and then we get to the period, and then what happens after that?
After that, Adam gives his present interest in life estate to Betty.
Good. And what does Betty have?
Betty has a present interest in life estate.
More precise? More precise? What kind of life estate is it? A French phrase. We have terminology. Parotravy. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. I always spell it wrong, but I think that's it. Right. So Betty has a present interest in life estate parotravy. That's after the period. Okay. That's so far so good, right? But what is Elizabeth? What kind of future interest does Oscar have here?
A future interest in reversion.
That's correct. How do you know it's reversion?
Because after, it's the future interest that follows the life.
Good.
That goes back to.
Perfect. You gave me the exact answer I was looking for. Don't say its reversion comes after life estate. If you say that, you're wrong. You need to say those two things, which Elizabeth just said very, very clearly. So there are two things, right? It's a future interest after life estate, Adam's life estate. And it goes back to the transferor, who's Oscar. It does not go to Betty. Betty does not have a future interest here, right? She does not have a future interest here. She's a third party, right? She came after the fact. She was not involved with the original transaction. The original transaction was between Oscar and Adam. If the future interest goes to a third party, it's something else. We'll get there in a minute. When it goes back to the transfer, it has to be reversion. And those two things that Elizabeth said are right. There must be after life estate, and it goes back to the transfer.
So it's not a grantor, it's a transfer.
They're kind of the same thing, but I say transfer for reasons I'll be clear maybe next week. The reason why is that grantor usually means you're selling, but these don't have to be sold. They'd be given as gifts. So transfer is a broader category. That's the simple reason, but it's close enough. All right. So exactly, example 3C. Thank you, Elizabeth. That's exactly right. Oh, actually, we're not quite done yet, though. Crespin, what kind of fees? Oh, damn it. What kind of reversion does Oscar have? Yeah, you're welcome. I have this terrible habit of giving the answer, and it sucks. I'm a bad bluffer. I can never play cards. I would just not do it well. All right. So just say the full sentence, Crespin. Get off easy. You got to spell it out, right? You got to say the entire mouthful. It sucks, but you have to say it. That tells you what happens is upon the death of Adam, it goes back to full bundle 6. The full bundle 6 goes back to Oscar. Fee simple. Because again, this is a Jen's question. It doesn't have to be in fee simple. You can do something else. You can go to a third party. Yes, Ivana. You don't have. I mean, you don't have to be bad. It helps because you're going to have some questions later with multiple pieces of property. Yeah, you probably should. I think Elizabeth, whoever gave I typed what she said, but you can put it for everywhere. But what I really care about reversion is feasible, not from sort of hard money for. But you're right. Look at this. You're gonna start correcting me because I can make mistakes. It's actually a joy when that happens. It means you understand it well enough. You can see when I did it wrong. And I'm gonna screw up. I promise you. I make mistakes in this because it's there's a lot of moving parts, and I have to sort of keep it in check. So feel free to raise your hand and say, "Josh, he screwed up," and I don't take it hard. Okay. Everyone get reversion. Liars. All right. I don't believe you, but that's fine. Now let's go into remainder. right? The book does remainder first and reversion second. I actually find it better to flip it. That's just been my experience. I don't know why, but I find it better to flip it. Let's look at example 4a. Oscar gives Adam a fee simple Blackacre. All right, so James, let's just walk through this one step at a time. What's Adam's interest here?
Adam has a present interest from the fee simple. Blackacre.
Okay. Adam's a present interest in fee simple Blackacre. Okay, correct. Is there a future interest here, James?
The fee simple incorporates the future interest.
Correct. Right. There is no. Okay. Did I do the wrong one? Oh yeah, I did. I think I copied the wrong questions. That's fine. You're correct. I just not the question I was looking to ask. Okay. I'm sorry. Just give me 30 seconds. I think I put the wrong question on the screen. Okay. Okay. This is what I want to do. All right. I'll just have to copy it from here. Okay. Okay. This is actually example 4B. I had the wrong one next. I apologize. I'll fix this for the next class. All right. All right. So let's try this for example 4B. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life, then to Betty for life. All right, Hayden. What's going up here? I'm sorry?
Adam has a present interest in fee simple and Blackacre.
Adam is fee simple in 4B. I'm on 4B. You see it? Okay, then you might need to move closer to the front of the room. Can you guys see this in the back row? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty big font. I can make it even bigger, but if you can't see it, then maybe we move up. How's this? You want to just come up and sit over here? Yeah, talk about like an eye doctor. Better one or like I mean I don't need to embarrass. I'll move on. Stephanie, what's going on in example 4B? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, you're fine. It's like, yeah, okay. Okay, so, Adam has a present interest in Blackacre.
Okay.
A life estate, sorry. Yeah.
A present interest in life estate. Okay. And then what about Betty? What?
And Betty has a present interest in the life estate for,
Okay. And then what happens when Betty dies?
then it goes to Betty's heirs.
Does it? Does it go to Betty's heirs?
Oh, it's for her.
What happens after life
Sorry,
estate?
it goes back to Adam.
No. What happens in plain English after Betty dies?
It goes back to all.
What do you call that? What's the definition we've given before? Don't look around. It's in your notes. Elizabeth gave us this a minute ago. Why is it a reversion? So what's going on here? Does it follow life estate? Does it go back to the grantor? All right. Everyone with me so far? Okay. You can stack one life estate after another life estate. So what's actually going on here is a little bit complex. All right. Oscar starts off with a fee simple. Okay, Oscar starts off with a fee simple. He then gives Adam a life estate. So Adam is a present interest in life estate. Period. Right? Then we see a comma. Notice the punctuation. There's not a period there. There's a comma. Why is that significant? Only one transaction. So Oscar is simultaneously giving a life estate to Adam and following Adam's life, a life estate to Betty. Whoa, that's different, isn't it? So this is not actually a life estate for Autre V, which I think someone was trying to say a minute ago. This is actually a life estate for Betty's life. Second, Bill, I'm not done yet. Promise, I'll get there. What we know is that when Adam and Betty are both dead, it will go back to Oscar. That much we know. When Adam and Betty are both at room temperature, it goes back to Oscar. I'm sorry. I can't say dead over and over again. It sounds redundant, right? When they got tags on their toes, it goes back to Oscar. It's true, right? Oscar has reversion. And reversion in fee simple. Okay. I'm not done yet. I've done this before you anyway. All right. What we say, and actually I'm going to do remainders next class. I'm not going to have time for remainders, so let's just stick with reversions. That's why I started deviating from my path because I was short on time. For example 4b, right? Example 4b, we will say that Adam has a present interest in life estate. Betty has a future interest in what? Not a remainder. Let's see. What does Betty have here? Right? Betty's interest, I don't do remainder yet, in life estate. Right? We'll just say that to keep it simple. I'll go to the specific class. Betty has a future interest in life estate. And Oscar has a future interest in reversion in fee simple. Why? Because Oscar's interest follows a life estate and it goes back to the transferor. Now, does Betty have a future interest in reversion? The answer is no. I don't have time to do it now, but the answer is his remainder. I'll explain why next class. I don't want to squeeze into 3 minutes. But what you're going to see is that you can have the same transaction with reversion and remainder in together. All right, I'm going to get to Bailey and John, but I'm going to start next class on this example. I don't want to rush this. It's a very hard point. All right, Bailey, then John. You're good to answer your question? John?
I think I know the answer to my question after we talked about it, but so there's no way that he can give.
Who's he? Just give me names.
There's no way that Oscar can give two different people present interest at the same time. So that would never be the case.
Say that again?
You can never give two different present interests.
At any one point in time, only one present interest. Now, I'm going to, in a month, tell you why that's wrong, but at least for now, that's the rule. Because you can have co-ownerships, right? You can have co-ownership, but that's like next month. That's after the midterm. Seriously, this entire class, I'm giving you rules, and then I'll give you an exception in a month later, right? It's painful for me to do it. But I want to just go through this example one step at a time again, right? Oh, Ben, go ahead. Please, it's going to matter. When you do remainder, it matters a lot. I don't want to do remainder in just a few minutes. Not fair, dude. I'll preview saying Betty doesn't have a future to the remainder, but I'll tell you why next week. Or maybe you can figure out that if you want to try. Let me walk through this one more time, 4B. Okay. Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life, comma. Meant to Betty for life. The commas are very important. Comma, then, right? That signifies a single transaction that Oscar's engaging in, right? In our prior examples, see, there's a period, right? Blackacre from Oscar to Adam for life, period. Blackacre from Adam to Betty for Adam's life. When you have a period, it signifies two separate transactions. When you have a comma, like in 4B, comma then, it signifies a single transaction. That is, Oscar is the mastermind. He's planning. He's saying, all right, you know what's going to happen? I'm giving it to Adam for his life, and then upon Adam's death, it goes to Betty. But when they both dead, it comes back to Oscar. It comes back to the grantor, the transferor. Okay, so as a result, you have a single present interest, and then you stack two future interests. First comes Betty, and then comes Oscar. Bailey, you're throwing up fingers.
I'm just still confused on why Oscar has both future interest and reversion and fee simple.
It's reversion in fee simple.
In fee simple,
If you, do I need to make my fonts bigger? I mean, I'm seriously. It will be more helpful. It's a size 18. I can make it bigger. I don't know. I visual is always tricky. And even if you don't have visual, it's on the document I share, right? You can see this on your own screen, which is why I'm less troubled. You can just, for a computer, you can just look at your screen and just follow along. It's below YouTube. You can look at it also on your screen. It's all live. Yes, Alex.
So, if, in this example, Oscar gets it to Adam and then to Betty, they both die. If Oscar's already dead, it goes to his heirs.
Yes, but exceptions. But the answer is probably. There's a case that creates exceptions to this, but I was dreading that question also. I was actually dreading it. So which is fine that you asked it, but the answer is yes, generally. So seriously, this entire topic is yes, but there's exceptions you'll learn later. I hate it, but you gotta. This topic is like building a cake, and there's layer upon layer upon layer. You have to do the first layer first, then you can put the frosting. All right, then you get the candles as a filling later. All right, so let me try to summarize. So today we did a couple concepts, right? We did two types of present interests. We did a life estate, and we did the fee simple. And we did one type of a future interest. I did not do remainder. We'll do remainder next class. I don't want to squeeze it in. We did the reversion. And please just memorize the definition. The reversion is the future interest that follows a life estate and that goes back to the transferor. Just memorize it. Your life will be happier if you do. All right. Questions? All right. I'll let the exit poll run for a bit today, but please take your time. If you have questions, I will review it for next class. Thank you all so much. I'll be in my office if you want to come talk. We're upstairs, 623. Otherwise, I'll see you all next week. Yeah. I'm sorry. You know what? You raised your hand. I forgot about you. I'm sorry.